Hello and welcome to this session where we will put risk management under the microscope. What will we find out? We'll find out that our genes, our microbiome, our hormones and sensory perception have a direct impact on the way we perceive and manage risks. We use this knowledge to help organizations find people with the right risk profile, whether it's to populate their advisory board or their factories. The idea is that you don't have a right or a wrong profile, you just need to find the suitable profile depending on the jobs to be done. So everything I will share with you, you can find, of course, in my books. The right sensory mix, decoding customers' behavior and preferences, that is conveniently right behind me. As promised, one of you will have a chance to win a signed copy of the book. So thanks for joining. I will be very happy to write it, especially for you, and to send it. You can also connect with me via email at diana@dervalresearch.com or via LinkedIn if you would have any questions after this session. So, before I start, one last word about ethics. You know, everything we do it respecting people. So I think it's important that, we always use this knowledge in a very ethical way. So we are not using the information against people, we are using it with the people together to find, the best solution for everybody. So if you continue watching the session, it means you agree to also only use this powerful knowledge in a very ethical manner. So I decided to take an example that I hope you can all relate to, because I know you are from various industries. It's driving behavior. Yeah? So we will look at how physiology has a direct impact on driving behavior, and starting with the genetics aspect. So I think you are all aware that we inherit of some traits from both parents. But if you look into risk behavior, actually the risk behavior comes solely from the mother. So, in case you were into genealogical trees to discover, the risk profile of people, you have to focus on the mom. Another genetic aspect is regarding risk-taking and the need for movement. It has been discovered that the same polymorphism, so genetic variation, is linked to eating disorders, but also to gambling, and the need for movement. So some people, they even choose a job where they have to be driving the whole day because they need to be in constant movement. Otherwise, it's obesity or gambling, so it's a bit communicating field. So that we will see along this session that often when you know one aspect of the personality, it can give you hints about other aspects because often they are associated. So this was for genetics. There's something even more powerful than genetics, it's hormones. So hormone can even overwrite the genes. Yeah, they are that powerful. So maybe you are more familiar with the hormone. It's more talked about when we talk about women, but they also have a very strong impact on men's behavior. And I will give you several examples. So let's start with the influence of hormone on women. So it has been demonstrated that when pregnant women are in their second term, they have twice as many accidents. They are more likely to have accidents, and this is because of the hormonal variation, fluctuation are messing up with, their cognitive skills. Both men and women, as I mentioned, are impacted by the hormones. So a very good example is swearing. So whether you are insulting people when driving a car or not is linked to hormones. So now you have a brilliant excuse, in case you were doing it. People who have more of a very strong testosterone called dihydrotestosterone, DHT, are more likely to swear while driving. It is also observed that they are better at mastering the driving process in the car, but they can't help swearing. So in women and men can both have a lot of DHT, but in men you will identify it because they have more chances to be bald. So if you see some bald guy, screaming at you in a car, be kind. They can't help. It's physiological. Other aspects of hormones, and that are less well known, are cycles. So you have hormonal cycles for men and women, and one of them is during the day. So you have a peak of testosterone at night, and it has an impact on risk behavior. Out of all the accidents happening at night, in 2/3 of the cases, the people were not even wearing a safety belt. So it gives you a bit an idea of the kind of risk taking. If we look at a season, you have a seasonality in risk taking. Every year, at spring, the first day of sun, you have much more accidents. So it's like when you see wild animals suddenly migrating or something, it's the same. Like every year at spring, first day of sun, you have accident. Also, you can look at the life cycle of people and aging in particular. If you know well that younger, especially male in that case, are taking much more risks, it's because of the rise in testosterone. It makes them do reckless things. There's some selection at that age, unfortunately, they do not all go through this phase. And you can observe a lot of, for instance, motorbike accidents or things like that. But this motorbike accident at a young age, most of them, they happen in plain daylight, so during the day, on a straight road. So it means it's a driver himself going quite fast and probably bumping into a stone or something like that. Later, around 40, 50 years old, men face another issue in their driving behavior that can be maybe related to something I would call a male menopause, maybe. It means that guys at that age, they will try to do the same thing they were doing before, but the level of testosterone are a bit decreasing. Maybe a last time, there's a little kick and then it will go down, so they do crazy things suddenly, or try at least to do again what they're doing before, like driving a motorbike, riding a scooter, but their cognitive skills decreased. So doing the same things, they will put themselves at risk and they will have more accidents. So you see, hormones are having an impact in many ways on the risk behavior and the driving behavior. Let's talk now about the impact of the microbiome on the risk behavior. So the microbiome is what is happening in our stomach, in our intestine. It's an ensemble of bacteria, fungi, viruses that are more or less dictating our behavior. So when you eat a bit too much of this chocolate or you order this second beer, it might be in fact your microbiome making the decision on your behalf. So I think a famous example is toxoplasmosis. So toxoplasmosis is a disease that is affecting mice and cats. The way it works is the mice that are affected they become so confident that they do not fear cats anymore. As a result, they get eaten by the cats and the cats get infected. So the virus somehow, is invading a bigger host. So the virus is happy. How does it affect human? So if you just adopted a cat, what will happen is you might catch the disease, so it's not very visible. It will just give you a big boost of confidence. So maybe some people, they just had a cat and they feel much more confident, they take risks. It's just because of the cat. So this is an example of how our whole body and brain is having a direct influence on how we behave, and it can change over time, or it can change depending on your own context and work environment, and of course lifestyle. So what is great with this physiological impact on risk is that even if people are unique, they have their very own genes, hormone, microbiome, sensory perception, they are predictable, because people who share similar traits will have similar physiology. It has just been confirmed that people who look a bit the same actually share some genetic traits. So it was not just an impression that we had. Yeah. So of course we should beware of wrong association. I think there's nothing worse than silly shortcuts and silly rules. You can see it every day in AI systems that were programmed by silly people, because most of the time AI are programmed by people, and then they make silly decisions. Other aspects that have an influence on the risk behavior are the sensory perception. So a funny test you can do at home or at work, if you have a Mozart tuba mirum requiem at hand, you can play the 3 minutes. And if people start having a pillow erection, so there's nothing obscene, it just means that they will have goosebumps. People who will have goosebumps will be less into physical risks. So, it's good to know. Another aspect that is related to risk behavior is taste, So people who are much pickier with the food, much more difficult with the food, have more taste buds, and they will be averse to physical risk. So they will not involve in bungee jumping or anything like that. On the other hand, people who have a bit less taste buds and who can eat and drink anything, they will have hobbies or activities that are more into sensation seeking. This is because taste buds are here to protect us against poison, and especially bitterness. That's what gives the poison away. And we found that people who are, very solid and they have a nature that will survive anything almost, then they don't need this protection from the taste buds. Yeah, so that's also a very interesting connection between hobbies and sensory perception. We see the same link with jobs and activities. Yeah, so you don't always choose your job, but you will go for the job that is the least worst from all the one available to you based on your experience and diploma. So for sure, if you have a Maserati, you would rather, lend it to an accountant than an entrepreneur, because an entrepreneur, by definition, will be a little bit more impulsive, because often he has to make quick decisions, which sometimes for driving is not the best. Being impulsive is not always the best. On the other hand, maybe the accountant will live with your car and never come back. So you need to manage. So I would say that everybody can have a risky behavior. Some it will be more on the physical risk, some it will be more on the financial risk. Yeah. So I think that the idea of understanding people at a physiological level, like their genes, their microbiome, their sensory perception, their hormone, is to put the right people for the right jobs to be done, if that's the case. And if you need to recruit new customer, to recruit them using techniques that will attract the right people. Yeah? For instance, if you make a campaign and you say, oh, click within 2 minutes and you will get 10% discount, you will recruit impulsive people. It's just logical. So I hope that this session will make you look at risk management under with a different angle, that you will look at it completely differently. I hope that you learned also about yourself. And so keep in mind that, of course, your family, your environment, but even the pets you have will have a direct impact on your risk behavior. Yeah. So, and you need to use all this information for good. Yeah. So, making sense of it and involving people with you in this study, so that the right people are the right job and all the risks that are detected, because we all have some flaws, some strengths, can be mitigated together. So thank you so much for joining this session and hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.